20 segundos. 20 segundos. Todavía no se sabe sin Aqua. Ya lo veremos. Anuncian el LOL 2. Que empieza, todo.
No pasa nada. Es mejor eso que morirse.
Al final os quito, Estáis locos. Espérate, ¿ese quién es?
Beware what you ask, nomad. Curiosity is a charming trait until it is not. Curiosity. Information will be volunteered, not coerced. It will create more questions than it answers. When at last their shadow is cast upon the firmament, it will take more than you can possess to bind and silence the screams within your mind.
Había alguien detrás suya. Han pasado por la historia.
Hi, I'm Chris Wilson from Grinding Gear Games. Thank you so much for joining us today as we unveil Path of Exile's 3.13 expansion. This release contains everything you've come to expect from a Path of Exile expansion.
Tiene cualquier cosa que
a new challenge league,
te esperas.
Skills, new items, metagame rebalances, and an endgame content update which will leave a lasting impact.
Esto ya lo hemos visto.
Our team have been very hard at work over the last few months, and we've got a lot up our sleeves to share with you today. But before we jump in, we wanted to mention that Twitch drops are enabled for the duration of this live
los
stream.
tweets están en los directos.
You'll find the instructions to link your Path of Exile account to Twitch so that you're eligible to receive drops.
Os avisan.
2020 was
todavía no están activados los drops, ¿vale, chicos?
It was also one that saw a lot of big things happen with Path of Exile. In late 2019, we held our first ExileCon convention.
Vale, están hablando de cuando anunciaron la ExileCon. Sí, va, muchas gracias por el follow. Sí, lo estoy viendo, lo estoy viendo.
2020, we developed 4 major
vale, eso. Buah.
Delirium, Harvest, and Heist.
Harvest.
As well as the one we're going to unveil today.
Demi, muchas gracias por el follow.
And released our Vulkan renderer and a macOS client for Path of Exile.
Te activaron los drops. Bien, really chicos, tenemos drops.
Last year under difficult conditions and can't wait to continue the journey with you through 2021. Where we expect to reveal much more about Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile Mode, as well as
Solo tenéis que estar 30 minutos para que os den las alas.
Thanks again for being here with us. It wouldn't be
sí, lo estoy viendo. Vale, empieza.
In today's live stream, we'll
no, pero dámelo ya.
And take a deep dive into exploring the new expansion's content and features.
Sí, Fox o cualquiera de Path of Exile.
We'll launch into a live Q&A where community streamer Ziggy D will ask.
Podéis verlo. Tenéis que acumular 30 minutos. Joder, ya estáis con la exclamación drops. Que no hace falta que conectar aquí ya os vale. Sí que sois mutos. Sois especialitos todos, de verdad.
That's today's reveals. I'm sure you're keen for me to stop talking and start revealing the new content, so let's jump right into the 3.13 trailer. See you on the other side.
Nunca aprendemos, no. ¡Se viene! ¡Que se viene!
What drives you, Exile? Is it justice? Revenge? Honor? No. It is power.
What?
We felt your deeds.
¿Ese no es el Elder?
Waves rippled through the void. You have our attention.
Ese.
Now you must keep it.
Son los dioses. Son los dioses.
Break them.
Son voces y dioses.
Do what is thought impossible, and the Atlas will follow.
What? What? 11 new maps. Bien. ¡Oh, reworkean! Harvest, vamos. El huerto. Ritual League. ¿Qué dices? Liga Ritual. Ese es el nombre de la liga.
The stars themselves will bear silent witness. How far will you bend before you break?
¡Wow! ¿Ves? Esos son los Conqueror. Os lo he dicho. Ecos. Ecos del Atlas. ¡Wow! ¡Dios santo!
That's one of my favorite Path of Exile trailers. We've released, what, like 35 trailers so far over the last decade, and I still get shivers watching each new one. Props to our video guy Eben for great work as usual. So there's a lot to cover based on what we've just seen. Let's get right into it.
Ahora sí tengo hype. Ahora sí, ¿no? Ahora sí.
In 2016, we introduced the Atlas of Worlds, a formal progression system for Path of Exile's endgame maps that culminated in a pinnacle boss fight against the Shaper.
Vale, hablan de cuando introdujeron la pelea contra el Shaper, ¿vale? Me la puso como el cuello de un ganso y no entiendo nada de lo que dice. Vale, hablan del rework del Atlas, ¿vale? ¡Dios! ¿Quién es? ¿Quién es? ¡Es Calandra! ¿Quién coño es? He visto una ascendencia distinta del Atlas. Este no es el alto templario. Se parece un huevo, lo hemos visto hoy.
The first such visitor and the focus of this endgame expansion is an entity called the Maven.
¿Maven?
You'll first encounter the Maven in the boss arena of a map,
What?
which will make the boss encounter more difficult and watch as
Vale.
you do your best to defeat it.
Vale, va a hacer... What?
If you're successful,
Como lo del Shaper. Los maps... What? What? No puedo pararlo.
Watch more fights.
¿Qué coño? Ese... What? Yo ya no sé quién es el Shaper, quién es el Elder, yo no sé nada. Yo ya no sé nada. Maven, es Maven. Vale, es Maven. Los vigilantes.
The Maven really wants to push you to your limits and has fabricated copies of the bosses she watched you defeat. This time, however, you'll have to defeat them simultaneously.
Vale, vas a tener que matar a los bosses simultáneamente.
Politely ask you to do the whole cycle again. Except this time she wants to watch more and tougher fights, and her next challenge will contain 4 bosses,
wow.
then 5, then 6, and finally 10.
Hasta 10 bosses al mismo tiempo. ¿Qué me estás contando?
You may even get to fight the Maven herself.
¿Qué narices? ¿Cómo? Toma, ¿no querés el juego más fácil? Pues toma. Cizaliede, muchas gracias por el follow. Vale, lo de las pasivas. Vale. Cuando completas los challenges desbloqueas pasivas. Vale. Wow. 22 puntos. Wow. Cada región tiene lo suyo. Vale, tiene Beyond, que dan más experiencia. O sea, cada región tiene su propia ascendencia. ¡Están locos! ¡Están locos! Mira, 100%. ¡Wow! Los legiones están rotas. Incursion Monster in Area Atlas Magic. LOL. Lo de Alba. Claro, y mejora todas las Strongboxes. Dios, aquí van a salir unas locuras flipantes.
While it prevents you from re-rolling valuable types of strongboxes, the sheer number of corrupted 6-socket and 6-link items will certainly be tempting.
Es que he bajado un poco el volumen. O sea, no solo el Atlas, sino cada zona. ¡Harvest!
The Harvest branch can increase your chances of finding a sacred grove, increase its crafting rewards.
En Lex Próxima, ¿sabéis quién va a irse a Lex Próxima? Aquí, Dios.
Harvest is being integrated into the core game in this expansion. The Torment branch can increase item drops from possessed and touched monsters, as well as populating the area with.
Choco, muchas gracias por el follow.
These synergize quite well with the sexes that guarantee a certain amount of rewards from possessed monsters.
Todos a Lex Próxima. Voy a dormir ahí, y Delve. Dios. Están rotísimas. Nose, muchas gracias por el follow a ti también. Aún no he empezado y necesito un tutorial. Oh my god. Semi, muchas gracias por el follow. Dios. Recordad que aparece ahí lo del más 3%. Crafteable Watchstone. A ver. ¿Qué cojones? Vale. Vale. Vale, están las Watchstone normales. Vale, y las Watchstone que dropea Sirius. Vale, y lo que hay arriba, ¿qué es? What? Vale. Vale, 3 nuevas Watchstone. Nunca expiran. Pero enséñalas. Claro, son crafteables. Oh my god.
Each of these 3 types of new watchstone has its own special mod pool, but there's also
Dios.
a shared mod pool that they all draw from. Like flasks, they can only be normal or magic. You can't find or craft rare watchstones.
0 por 1% de tener más. De tener el máximo de sockets. Los objetos tienen un 0,25% de tener sockets blancos. ¡Dios santo! ¡Pero están locos! Mira, luego está el Maven's Orb. ¿Pero esta gente qué hace? ¿Qué hace? ¿Qué hace? Remueve una influencia. Upgrades a modifier of the highest tier.
Crusader influence modifiers on it, the percentage increased intelligence 1 and the physical damage taken as lightning damage 1. When we apply a Maven's Orb to it, it randomly removes one of these mods and upgrades the other one to become an elevated influence mod. In this case, it upgraded the increased intelligence mod to also have +1 to the level of socketed intelligence gems. The other influence mod was removed.
O sea, remueven un modificador y upgradea otro.
Let's YOLO exalt it for good measure. Maven's Orb crafting is only going to be performed by the upper echelons of elite players, and pushes the boundaries of the best items that are possible in Path of Exile. One of the things that players look forward to in an endgame Path of Exile expansion is new maps to play. We have added 11 new types of maps.
Vale, 9 mapas nuevos, vale.
And of course, each comes with its own challenging boss fight. Let's have a look at 4 of these new tile sets.
Estoy flipando. What? ¿Ese no es Yugul? No. No es Yugul, ¿qué coño? No. ¡Hala, qué chulos! ¡Qué guapos! ¿Serán estos los guardianes? ¿Serán estos los guardianes de del nuevo boss? 11, vale, 11. Yo qué sé, yo no pienso.
That the environment art tile set and level design teams working on them have been doing so much work on Path of Exile 2 recently. And it's not just the 4 maps that we
Están hechos con el diseño de Path of Exile 2. ¡Dios! Ritual Challenge List. Vale, esta es la liga. Todo lo que hemos visto ahora es la expansión. Es hora la expansión, ahora viene la liga.
Where players explore the new league mechanics, rush to conquer the new economy, race to level 100, and try to get the best items before their friends. The Challenge League being released alongside Echoes of the Atlas is the Ritual League. In the Ritual League, you'll discover several mysterious altars in each area you explore.
Vale, encontraremos unos altares.
At the ritual site and then activate the altar to initiate the ritual.
Vale, cuando los
you'll be enclosed within the ritual circle and will have to face.
Vale, cuando matas lo suficiente se cierra.
And also the specific powers of that altar.
What? ¡Qué guapo! Peleas de 5 FPS. Dios. Y que... ¡Ay, te dropea! Vale, esto con delirio va a estar la hostia. What?
These items vary greatly in power and cost, so you may find you can afford several cheaper ones or one more valuable one. For clarity, tribute doesn't transfer between game areas. As you complete subsequent rituals in the same area, more potential rewards will be revealed, which can be very expensive. If you can't afford to purchase a reward outright, you can spend a portion of its cost to defer it until later.
Ah, puedes guardarlo para luego, para ir acumulando. Ah, qué guapo, por si no te da. Es como operandos pero bien, ¿no? ¡Dios, 4 exalted!
You can also spend some tribute to re-roll the contents of the reward screen one time per instance if you'd like a new set of reward items to choose from. Among the many other rewards you can choose from in Ritual are a special new set of ritual base types.
Vale, bases especiales de ritual. Wow, con un doble implícito.
If you can create a build that mitigates this drawback, then you can take advantage of the power of these items and craft them into something amazing. For example, these Nexus Gloves reduce your maximum mana, but have a chance of immediately refunding the mana spent to use a skill. If you can work around this restriction to your mana pool, you can periodically use skills for essentially
What the fuck?
Here are 2 other examples of ritual base types, the Penitent Mask and the Storm Rider Boot.
¡Qué guapo! Son objetos en los que te dan algo negativo, you are crushed, o tienes menos accuracy, pero te dan daño por... ¡Wow!
Reducing the damage you take from hits.
¡Qué guapo!
There are many situations where this is a huge win, such as if you already have no armor or endurance charges. The Storm Rider Boots reduce your accuracy rating but provide a huge added lightning damage boost to your attacks based on your accuracy rating. If you have other sources of accuracy to rely on, then this is potentially a huge increase to the lightning damage you deal.
Wow.
In the end game, you can obtain ritual vessels, which allow you to itemized the monsters from a ritual. You can place up to 4 vessels in the map device alongside a map to add the monsters stored in those vessels to the rituals present in the map. This increases both the difficulty and rewards of the rituals.
Hola, Antonio, en serio, no me lo digáis, no me digáis cuántos somos, por favor. Oh my god, qué barbaridad. ¿Qué acabamos de ver? ¿Qué estamos viendo?
Because there's a chance of encountering a headhunter or mirror of Calandra as rewards, using ritual vessels increases the chances you'll be offered those items and allows you to afford them.
Incrementa las posibilidades de obtener un headhunter y un mirror of Calandra.
Maxed out maps that have mechanics like Beyond or Delirium present. Using vessels, you have control over the risk of
no está Delirio, no está Delirio. Se han visto, no está Delirio. Sí, Rastien. Vale, las mejoras a las ascendencias. Ojito con la cazadora, ojito con la arquera. Ojito.
Path of Exile has 19 Ascendancy Classes, which let you specialize your character further than the base character classes allow. To unlock your Ascendancy class, you must find the Altar of Ascendancy at the end of the Lord's Labyrinth.
Le han añadido al Slayer una ascendencia. ¿Te imaginas que le han añadido una a todos? He escuchado el Inquisitor, Deadeye y otro más. Ni en el tráiler se libran del lag,
but lacked really in-depth build options. Now you can pick which elemental ailments to use for greater build customization, as well as providing more consistent power against tougher enemies. The elementalists can also protect themselves from a large amount of elemental damage.
Han quitado el delirium del map device, pero no en general, ¿vale?
Bastion of Elements provides a defensive shield against elemental damage, which can be further improved by allocating more skills on your
¿Tiene más ascendencias o soy yo?
The Liege of the Primordial and Elemental skills focus on golem builds. Taking Liege of the Primordial now means that your golems are automatically resummoned 4 seconds after they die. To make your golems immune to
los golems son
as well as Liege of the Primordial. Previously, the Shaper of Desolation
y los golems son inmunes al daño elemental.
Even if you didn't use both. We've now moved these benefits into their own branches, culminating in the Shaper of Flames, Winter, and Storm skills, allowing you to pick
your hit always ignite. Dios. Buah, como vea esto Moab, Dios. Wow, la elementalista que rota está.
Pendulum of Destruction has been reworked as Heart of Destruction, providing more elemental damage or area of effect when you need them.
Lo de los golems inmunes ya estaban, vale. Vale, el Inquisitor. A ver qué le hacen. Iba a decir, nunca he jugado Golem, pero es mentira.
Se
toca borrar la guerra spending, ¿qué va?
While Instruments of Zeal opens up an entirely new and very unique playstyle. Let's have a look at some of the new Inquisitor Ascendancy skills. Pious Path no longer affects attack and cast speed. It now allows you to double the potential recovery of life regeneration by having it apply equally to Energy Shield. Sanctuary no longer provides mana, but now has a larger damage bonus from Consecrated Ground, up from 10%.
Cuando estás parado tienes... todo eso ya lo hace una poción.
It still focuses on critical strike chance, but it now scales it up by a percentage equivalent to either your strength or intelligence value.
1% de crítico por cada punto en fuerza o inteligencia. Eso es tocho, ¿eh? Y te da 50 de fuerza e inteligencia. 10% de more mal. What? El Battle Mage. Ganas peldamas igual a la cantidad de daño que tienes en tu arma principal. Eso es una barbarie. Un arma de 800 de DPS te daría 800 de spell damage. This introduces a concept of fanaticism, which causes spells you cast yourself to have 75% more cast speed. Yo lo de los fanatism.
Fanaticism is gained by using attacks regularly, giving huge bonuses for
Dios mío, vaya semanita nos espera.
Historically, the Deadeye Ascendancy was the best place to find a variety of strong projectile-based effects. But over time, more of these effects have shown up on items, and the Deadeye has lost much of what made it unique.
Vale, esta es la de Dai. Vamos a ver la de Dai. Dios, qué guapada. Vale, Farshot hace 60% more damage. Vale. Projectile barrajes have no spread. Dios, qué roto eso. ¿Qué dices? ¡Eso está rotísimo!
Ricochet caused your projectiles to chain an additional time and granted 10% more damage for each remaining chain. The new Ricochet allows your projectiles to both chain an additional time and have a chance to chain.
No lo leo bien. Colliding. Eso no lo entiendo. ¿Qué significa eso? ¡Wow! ¡Dos adicionales!
This skill is accessible behind 3 of the Deadeye's paths, making it an option for many different Deadeye builds.
Colisionan, vale, perdón. Vale, que rebotan, vale, entiendo. Rebotan en las paredes. Miraje Archer, what?
Always grants Tailwind to permanently boost your speed, and the increase to Tailwind effect per skill used is now given by the Gale Force buff. Windward enhances the Gathering Winds passive by making Gale Force a lot more effective, with the drawback of losing all Gale Force if you're hit.
Eso es una barbaridad, Eso es una barbaridad. Eso es una barbaridad.
The Rupture skill previously helped Critical Strike bleed builds. It's been renamed to Rupturing and it's been simplified while being made more powerful.
Vale, y luego lo del bleeding es común por los memes. Pero que sí que es squishy, pero tiene una ascendencia que hace que reciba un 30% de less damage, Takaki. Un 30% de less damage es súper tanque. Vale. Las marcas que tú infliges no se borran de los enemigos que matas. Y recibes un 20%. ¡Wow! Vale, estos cambios pequeños. Pues sin Aqua estoy flipando, tío. Estoy flipando, es alucinante.
Some Slayer effects were much stronger than others, limiting build choice. We've now provided more power spread out over a wider selection of passives, while allowing easier access to the Slayer's special leech mechanic. Brutal Fervor and Endless Hunger have switched places on their Ascendancy branch so that Life Leech is more accessible.
Vale, esto es la hostia. Esto es muy tocho, el Slayer. Ya ha salido, Deki. Estamos en ello. Estamos viéndolo.
Overwhelm's base critical strike chance for attacks with weapons has been increased.
Vale.
Hopefully you now have a good idea of the scope of changes that we have made to the 19 Ascendancy classes. While the biggest changes to the 3 were heavily
esto no nos va a dar tiempo a verlo, pero...
all of the others have received at least new.
Vale, esto para luego hacerle capturas.
We believe that the new design philosophy for Ascendancy
Sí, Javi, sí. Y Harvest.
And that they are a more concentrated source of power. We look forward to revealing the rest of the changes next week.
Wow. Nuevas gemas, nuevas gemas. Ahora lo revisaremos todo, Clarkar.
These are the Hydrosphere Skill Gem and the Trinity Support Gem. First, let's have a look at Hydrosphere. The skill summons
Hydrosphere.
water that you can move around to crush enemies. While it is actually
Que se mueve a los enemigos que matas.
What? For a duration, afflicting nearby enemies with damage matching that
¡Qué guapo!
This player is applying freeze to the Hydrosphere with freezing.
Va lag el streaming, no yo,
To repeatedly damage surrounding enemies with cold damage.
¡Qué guapo!
Here's the gem hover for Hydrosphere. This skill gem can be acquired from level 34 and can be supported with spell, area of effect, duration, cold, orb, lightning, and physical support gems. It pulses every 0.4 seconds while an ailment is applied to it. It also converts its
Mete freeze, shock, bright y shape. Dios santo.
The Trinity Support Gem is designed to support builds that deal
Trinity Support.
elemental damage. While Trinity supports your skill, any hits that deal damage with a specific element will build resonance with the other two elements. The more resonance you have of every element, the more damage the Trinity Support Gem provides. When you have high resonance with all three elements, Trinity also grants elemental penetration. Here you can see the player using Ball Lightning with Unleash and Magma Orb to build resonance.
What? ¡Qué fumada! Soportea gemas de distinto tipo. Mirad arriba. Mirad esto.
Combined with the elemental weakness curse, the maximum resonance Trinity absolutely decimates enemies. In addition to introducing the two entirely new gems we described, we have done an extensive balance pass on other skills. We have buffed over 40 existing gems, including skills such as
Han buffado un montón de gemas.
Storm, Venom Gyre, Static Strike, Kinetic Bolt, Crackling Lance, Lightning Strike, Shrapnel Ballista, and
Lightning
Artillery
Strike.
Ballista. Full details will be available in the patch.
Va lagueado el streaming, no yo, lo prometo. Sí, 40.
As well as introducing
Los objetos únicos. Dios santo.
Fresh in a Path of Exile expansion is adding new unique items to discover and build characters around.
Estoy alucinando.
Unlike most items you find in Path of Exile that are randomly generated, unique items are extremely rare ones that our design team have hand-created to offer new build opportunities. Echoes of the Atlas introduces 10 new unique items.
10 únicos nuevos. Sí, Takaki, pero bufan al 40. Es ritual.
They place scorched ground as you travel,
Vale.
which applies the scorch element to enemies standing in it. When scorched enemies die, they have a chance to set fire to surrounding enemies, dealing a percentage of the slain enemies.
Muchas gracias, Giancarlos, por ese follow.
These boots create an interesting and new way to support your build with fire damage.
Vale.
This is a new unique amethyst ring called Black Flame, which is themed around fire and chaos damage. Its headline effect is that your ignites now deal chaos damage, along with a cool new chaos ignited effect on monsters.
Wow.
Also, if you ignite a withered enemy while wearing Black Flame, the wither will no longer expire, and you can build up to its maximum of 15 stacks, if the enemy survives long enough, that is. Along with its various other benefits,
eso es tochísimo,
ignite a few new ways of playing fire.
Los enemigos quemados reciben daño de caos en vez de daño de fuego.
These new Zealot Gloves are called Hand of the Fervent and create an interesting interaction between physical damage and the mana cost of skills. The unique ability of these gloves happens whenever you use a skill. They grant an effect called Sacrificial Zeal, which both adds a quarter of the skill's mana cost to spell physical damage, but also hurts you, to the tune of 150% of the skill's mana cost over 4
¿Y eso para qué
seconds.
sirve? Eso tiene pinta de que es meme.
When we have time during an expansion's development, we try to identify past leagues that can be integrated into the core game as optional side content
Se viene.
improvements. This expansion contains 2 such leagues. Last year, we released the Harvest League, which allows you to grow a garden of monsters, fight them, and then use their lifeblood to craft your items in powerful ways. Watching this league unfold made us realize 2 things. Firstly, the crafting options were so powerful and so easily accessible that players had unprecedented access to almost everything
vale, es fácil.
quickly.
Sí.
Secondly, even the players who did enjoy the mechanics of growing their own garden would probably
Vale, hay algunas personas que no les ha gustado eso. Okay.
When deciding how to integrate Harvest into the core game, we knew that we had to curtail crafting somehow, but we didn't want to just do this by nerfing it a lot. We needed a smarter solution that still allowed players to earn and perform powerful crafts. We also knew that we didn't want players to have to grow and
Se les ha colado el sonido.
every league. So let's check out how Harvest works as part of the core game in Echoes of the Atlas. In Echoes of the Atlas, as you play through maps, rather than finding a seed cache, you'll now encounter a portal to the Sacred Grove.
Vale, encontráis la entrada.
Sacred Grove. It's an established one that has a full complement of plants ready to harvest, fight, and craft.
Bien.
The grove contains several pairs of harvests to choose between, each displaying the details of the fight and the corresponding crafting options. You can only pick one of each pair, so carefully choose which crafting options are best for you, defeat the monsters, and use their life force to perform the crafts.
Ganamos, gente, ganamos.
To kill the monsters, each grove represents quite a lot of crafting opportunities, and you can save up to 10 crafts for later use at the Hora crafting station, which is now available in your hideout.
La horticraft en el hideout.
Because it keeps the exciting elements of harvest, fighting, and crafting, and drops the part that got old quickly: seed management and garden planning. We're also integrating the Heist League into the core game as optional content with a few improvements. In Heist, players travel to the Rogue Harbor to hire a crew of thieves to help them plan and execute risky heists, working towards a thief's ultimate goal, pulling off a grand heist. In the Echoes of the Atlas expansion, heist contracts drop from Act 6 onwards.
Vale, esto le interesa a Barros.
Markers drop with higher stack sizes, and quest contracts now drop for you.
Tranquilos, chicos, si habéis entrado recién tenéis que estar 30 minutos, ¿vale? Para los que no sepáis cómo obtener las alas, tenéis que entrar aquí. Vale, os lo voy a poner. Y linkear vuestra cuenta de Twitch ahí, ¿vale? Muy importante.
Keep an eye out for the patch notes in a few days where we will detail other changes that didn't make it into this presentation. Soon we'll move on to the Q&A about today's announcements. First, let's have a quick look at the new
El Angevil, muchas gracias por el follow.
Now to celebrate the Echoes of the Atlas expansion and the Ritual Challenge League, and to help fund the ongoing development.
Haste no es borrado, disappointed. El Po estaba muerto, decía. El Po estaba muerto. ¿Cómo si te sale el aviso, como en el agente del chat? Sí, Quick, ya mostraron. A mí me gusta Haste, es broma. ¿Cómo saber si me los dieron? Te salta un aviso en el chat. New FD. Asegúrate de estar linkeado. ¡Eh! ¡Qué chulo!
These are, of course, in addition to the new core packs that we released a couple of weeks ago. Remember to check those out if you haven't already. Thanks so much for your support. As you know, purchase are what funds ongoing development of Path of Exile, its expansions, and its sequel. Speaking of Path of Exile 2, we know you're keen for an update. While today is all about Path of Exile and Echoes of the Atlas, we have plenty of Path of Exile 2 and Path of Exile mobile updates planned for you this year, which will start sooner than you think. Our team have been creating some amazing stuff and we can't wait to reveal it to you.